Hi everyone, this is my pool plan on DFFOO Global on late July 2021, and this pool plan video will be covering events where Layle returns as a synergy unit. Specifically, the events are outlined on the infographic on the left hand side, which is derived from JMAT's global forecast, and these events are the 6-month event, Kurasame's Lost Chapters, DE Transcendance Level 3, and a special banner featuring the return of Sephiroth, Warrior of Light, and Paladin Cecil. As always, quick disclaimers before I start that this is really my own personalized pool plan based on my preferences and playstyle. They may or may not be the ideal pool plan for you, and I'm always a firm believer that there's many approaches and ways in playing this game. And I highly recommend to always do research on what each unit brings to the table so that you can always make an informed decision whether or not the unit is ideal for your roster. There's many factors that goes into planning for pools, and this includes your current resources in terms of gems and tickets, who you currently have built up in your current roster because everyone is different here, and very importantly what roles you need to fulfill for your roster, and of course who your favorites are in terms of characters. So starting off, coming up we have the events where Layle returns with his newly debuted LD and BT weapons. We will have two events. We will have two banners. The first featuring Layle, Kais, and Elfinot, and the second banner will feature the return of Crow LD, Celeste LD, and Prish. So for me, I'll start off with the bottom banner. It's very straightforward because I already have Crow and Celeste LD, so I will be skipping the second banner. I always pull for the synergy unit with the BT weapon because this unit will be featured as synergy across events in the next 2 weeks. So for this reason, I will be using tickets aiming very specifically for Layle's LD weapon. I'm not too interested in Layle's burst weapon, so if I get his burst weapon, then of course I'm very happy, but if I'm not, I'm not going to invest any additional weapons, any additional resources beyond his LD weapon, and I'm certainly not going to token or chase gems just for the BT weapon. As far as the banner goes, Layle and Kais are actually two very strong units for the launching strategies, so-called famously dubbed as the Square Enix Airlines strategy. So if you are a fairly new player and you haven't picked up any key launches like Cloud or Dark Knight Cecil, this banner with Kais and Layle is actually quite a decent banner for newcomers. And if you happen to get Kais's gear and his LD weapon, you are 2 out of 3 in terms of a Square Enix Airlines launch party, and that party strategy will be able to help you clear many of the earlier Chaos and Lufenia stages. So as far as banner value goes, the first banner is, in my opinion, a really good banner if you are lacking key launches in your roster. So coming up after that, we have Kurasame's Lost Chapters with the return of Kurasame's LD, and this time Cypher's LD will be newly featured as well. I plan to skip mainly because I already have Kurasame fully built up and I have his LD weapon as well. Of course, I don't have Cypher's LD weapon, but I have no interest in pulling for Cypher. Not to say he's a bad unit. He does have a new feature with his LD. It gives him a buff and a new debuff, and this new buff actually allows him to delay with all his skills, and all his skills are also area of effect, which means that his delay is actually an AoE delay for 1 turn. For me personally, I already have Garland fulfilling the role of delayer, and I also have Aranya built up as well. And beyond that, I feel quite comfortable um, in my current roster with this sort of utility, so I don't really feel a strong urge to pull for Cypher. So for that reason, I'm going to give this banner a skip. If you are a fairly new player though, Kurasame is a fantastic pickup, and I highly recommend to consider Kurasame for your roster if you have the resources to spare. He will get a new utility giving you Party Ice Enchant, but his best utility comes in the form of his debuff that provides a very valuable and juicy 30% HP damage up that can also be used as a call ability. Right after that, we have Dimensions End Transcendance 3, featuring the release of Porom's LD. And here I will be using tickets chasing after Porom's LD. Porom used to be, for me, somewhat of a lackluster unit in terms of turn efficiency. In the past, her S1 and S2 did not feature an HP dump. All this gets fixed with the release of her LD, and it now gives her a new follow-up attack. And the unique and somewhat amazing thing about this follow-up attack is that it's actually based on your party's HP totals, which means that her follow-up attack actually completely bypasses defense and breath reduction effects, which is getting more and more prominent in Lufenia stages. There's not a lot of characters that has this. One good example that currently exists is Xdev, although his gravity-like effect is based on his attack stat, and whereas Porom's will be based on HP life total, so it's a bit different, but the concept is similar. And I feel there's a lot of value in units like this coming up, especially as it may get more and more challenging to get around the higher defenses and breath reduction effects in play. So for this reason, I will invest in Porom, and I will try to throw tickets hoping to score her LD. It doesn't help though that her banner mates here, which is Lulu and King, are very outdated at this point. So the only prize in this banner is really only Porom, and I wouldn't advise to go any further for the banner mates here. Lastly, in the JP version of the game, there was a banner released around this time, which is a triple LDBT banner featuring Paladin Cecile, Warrior of Light, and Sephiroth. At the time of this banner release, Warrior of Light will also be getting his C level 80 and access to his LD bots, and Sephiroth will be getting a rework. And these two things bump up the usefulness of the characters to the current level in the current meta in this game. First of all, I really have to say that this banner is probably the most value-adding banner this arc. For new players especially, all three banners bring a lot to the table, and very importantly, all three characters fulfill very different roles. So Warrior of Light is a very strong tank, Sephiroth with his rework becomes a top tier DPS, and Paladin Cecile has always been and is still currently one of the best supports in the game. So if you actually pull on this one banner and you get gear for all three, the three characters together in the same party will enable you to clear probably every chaos stage to date, and even a number of the earlier Lufenia stages as well, depending on what the orb requirements are. So it's a great banner if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of units and you need to put together a party to help you clear content. This is the banner to go for. The only thing for more veteran players is that none of the weapons on this banner is new. So you may already be at a stage where you have all or almost all the weapons available, at which point of course it makes more sense to skip rather than to pull. Currently I'm leaning towards skipping the banner, but only because I already have all the weapons except the BT weapons. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the BT weapons on this banner. So I'm still planning to skip because I'm not really a big fan of chasing after BT weapons, but depending on how the rates are, if if it's still in total more than 10% likelihood to get any BT weapon, I may try to pull until I get one BT and then stop after that. But if the rates are quite low, then I'll just skip the banner altogether. So at this point, I've decided to change things up from my previous pool plan videos. This slide here shows my recommendation on what I think you should be aiming for in the next few banners. And I want to really preface this by saying you should always factor in what roles you need more in your roster. So everyone's a little bit different here. But I'll try to share a bit on my thought process and rationale of how I sort of rank all these characters here. So first of all, on the left hand side, you have what I would put as recommended characters to aim for, and I have Kurasame and Porom listed here, and the reason why I rank these two the highest so far is mainly looking forward at the upcoming Lufenia fights, where I feel these two really adds a lot of value. Kurasame with his LD boards and being able to access him as an LD call is very valuable. He will probably be one of the most used LD calls alongside Jack LD call, and that should give you an idea of how widely used he will be. Porom, like I mentioned, has a unique follow-up attack, and along with that, she brings with her the amazing survivability that she grants to the party as always, and she also will have party-wide last stand and a very juicy 80% defense down as well. So overall, I think she's a very interesting and a support character with a lot of utility that will likely see a lot of use in upcoming Lufenia. So for these reasons, I really recommend going for these two. Warrior of Light I sort of put in between recommended and the second category of role fulfillment, and the only reason why he isn't fully in recommended is I try not to have too many characters here. I mean the reason is that you look at this based on resources available to pool, and usually if you're free to play, you will only have enough resources to aim for one or two characters, so I try not to have too many characters here. If you don't have Warrior of Light fully built up and you want to have a strong tank option, then you should definitely go for Warrior of Light. The other reason why I don't put him fully in the recommended tier is really at this point I don't use a lot of tanks in my current playstyle. The way the meta has evolved is that the past few Lufenia stages, and I believe the next few as well, makes it very possible to complete all these Lufenia stages using a no-turn boss strategy, where you use characters that rely on burst damage and gimmicks such as turn delay and turn deletion to buy you enough time to burst down the bosses. So if you're using this sort of strategy, you don't really need a tank, and I've been using this sort of strategy very lately, as seen in some of my battle videos. So just for this reason, I sort of rank Warrior of Light a little bit lower in terms of preference compared to Kurasame and Porom. But if you are new to the game and you really need a tank to help you in some Lufenia stages, then Warrior of Light is the unit that you should go for. Coming to role fulfillment, this category are characters that I think add a lot of value, but it really depends on what sort of role you're currently missing in your roster, and if you already have many characters that fulfill the similar roles, then you can consider really skipping on these characters, because relatively speaking, I think the recommended characters probably bring more to the table than these characters. So we have Layle and Kais, and luckily they are in the same banner. And again, I put them here because launch strategy is a very viable strategy. And if you don't have Dark Knight Cecile and Cloud, you may want to pick up these two characters so that you then have access to another viable strategy that you can use in Lufenia stages. If you're not interested in launch strategy and you already have other launch characters, then you can actually skip these two characters and you should still be able to get by pretty comfortably in the next few Lufenia. Paladin Cecile and Sephiroth, I put them here because we're starting off with Sephiroth. He is a strong damage dealer, but I already invested quite a lot in Terra, in Yang, and in Tifa. And currently now I feel very comfortable with the amount of DPS characters I have. Many people would have pulled for Tifa already, which sort of puts Sephiroth in a somewhat awkward position. If you feel comfortable with your current roster, I don't really see a big need to pull for these two characters. And again, it depends really on what you have. So the roster featuring Warrior of Light, Paladin Cecile, and Sephiroth is a really good one if you really don't have a lot of characters built up, because it's not very common that we see a banner where all three characters are viable in the current Lufenia era. And this is one of the rare banners where if you don't have any of the weapons, any 5-star weapons you get is going to be very valuable. Lastly, on the right hand side are what I would consider as consolation prizes. The characters I put here really, relative to all the other characters, I think has the least to offer, mainly because there are many other characters who fulfill their role and in some cases will probably do a better job as well. So I'll start off with the easiest one, which is Celeste. She does have Ice Enchant and she is still a very viable tank, but in terms of timing, it's unfortunate because during this time we now will have access to Kurasame for the Ice Enchant and Warrior of Light as a tank, and I think if you have access to either, you probably don't need Celeste as much anymore. We also have had access to Ashe recently, who also fulfills the role of Party Enchanter and Imperialer, so that is also another good option that many people would already have. That's also the reason why I rank Krau as a consolation prize. If you somehow miss Celeste and you're very short on Enchanter Imperialers in your roster, maybe you can consider, but really if you pulled for Kurasame, that's already one option there. And I think he is a better option. And in terms of support character, Porum is, in my opinion, leaks better than Krau. So there's really not a lot of incentive going for pulling for Krau now. And if you really have limited resources, it's probably better spent on one of the other characters. Cypher, I put him here, and many people will probably disagree with me. I know there's many people looking forward to the release of Cypher. It's really just the fact that, in my opinion, if you only have him as the only delayer in your party, it's still going to be very difficult to achieve a no boss turn run. And currently now there's many other viable ways to achieve that anyway. So he's really released to me in an awkward timing where I don't really see a lot of need for his kit in my playstyle, and I have many other viable characters and strategy that will probably work without the need of slotting Cypher in the party or as a call ability. So at the same time also, I already plan on slotting Tifa in my party most of the time, and we have Cloud of Darkness coming up as well. I plan to slot in Tifa and Cloud of Darkness together, and I don't really see any way I can fit in Cypher in my party on top of that. So for that reason, really, I see less and less need for me to pull for Cypher the more I think about it. So that's it for this time. Thanks a lot. I hope this video has been helpful. Long story short, I plan to use tickets for Layle and Forums LD and will likely skip everything else. This is really another great time to save because I will probably be spending more during Cloud of Darkness, which is coming up in the near future as well. So that's it. Hope this video has been helpful. If you enjoy the content, do leave a like and hit the subscribe button. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.